What is up, my potential future sparkies? So this video is for you. So I'm fairly new to this YouTube thing. I've been posting videos for maybe 3 weeks or a month now, and man, it's been exciting. It's been super cool. So for any of the small amount of subscribers that I have and people watching my videos and stuff, that's like super cool and inspirational, and it's definitely bringing a new joy to my everyday job, right? So yeah, just to back up a little bit. So I this week's my birthday actually. This week I'm going to be 43 years old, and I started the business in 2010 when I was 28 years old. Okay, so prior to that, I think my first electrical job, I was probably somewhere around 20, 21 years old, something like that. And for the next 8 years, basically, I was kind of off and on with it. I didn't start at 20 and then 28 I got my master's. It wasn't like that. It was kind of up and down. I tried a couple different things. I went into real estate as an appraiser. I started a fence company during that time. I started a cleaning business during that time. Man, what else? I was a painter for a while. Just a whole bunch of different things. I tried a bunch of different stuff, but my very first job, one of my buddies hooked me up shortly after high school, and I remember working with those guys. His name's Chris, and he's still one of my really good friends, and he's still an electrician, and he's actually been an electrician longer than I have now, almost 20 years or something like that. But so Chris got me my first job, and to be honest, like when I first started, it was pretty tough. It was pretty challenging. I remember my very first day of work, actually, and driving home with Chris and the owner of the company at the time, and I'm sitting in the middle in the work van, right? Like, I'm sure some of you new apprentices could relate. It's probably better than sitting in the back of the van, right? So I'm sitting in the middle on this bucket, and I was just exhausted. I remember I was so tired, and I'm just like looking at these guys like it was just another day for them, like there's definitely no exhaustion on their part. That's for sure. So these guys had already been seasoned, and it was just another day for them. So not a big deal, but for me, it was tough. It was challenging. So we were doing some multifamily residential stuff, and as a lot of you guys, careers start in residential and multifamily, especially, right? These big apartment complexes, hotels, things of that nature, right? So a lot of repetitive work. You may have like 1, 2, 3, 4 different floor plans, but you're kind of doing the same thing over and over, right? So you're working around wood studs, wood framing in the heat of the summer, in the cold of the winter. We're in there drilling holes. It's dusty. It's kind of dirty. You're pulling wire. You're up on a ladder. One of your number one tools is moving a ladder around all the time and pulling wires, man. We're pulling wires through studs through the holes that we drilled or up above the ceiling, all prior to the drywall and stuff. And of course, if you're already an electrician, you understand what I'm talking about, right? If you're not, which a lot of this video is geared for guys that may want to become electricians. That's kind of the point of my channel, is to inspire the new generations coming up to get involved in our trade. So anyway, that's how I started my career. It was residential, and we're pulling wire, and it kind of sucked. You're using your hammer all the time to staple the wires down with staples, and man, I'm always ended up with blood blisters. You're stripping wires out. You're trying to make them all nice and neat and be fast at the same time, and learn your job, right? Try to understand what and why you're doing what you're doing, instead of just being told what to do over and over and over, right? But electrical's it's complicated. It's challenging. There's so many pieces and parts. There's so much stuff to learn. Just simply understanding what electricity is, how it flows, what it does. How we make it safe. What is a breaker? Why is there different sizes of wire? what's a GFI, what's a 15 amp, a 20 amp device, like all these different things. So a little bit of my advice for a new guy or somebody starting off is something that helped me a lot was I carried a notepad around with me. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I did. I carried a notepad around with me because all day long I was like learning stuff, right? And I would just write down, all right, 12, number 12 THHN, right? What is that? I don't even know what that is, right? Why is this wire black and this one's white? What's the difference between them? What are they doing something different? Like, what is it? Just all these things, man, that you sometimes are afraid to ask because you feel like, you know, just like anything, like you're inexperienced and you don't want to show that sometimes. So, you know, sometimes as men, right, especially, we have a hard time asking questions. So that's that for me. You know, I carried the notepad around, and that kind of catapulted me. That helped me move along a little bit faster because I would go home and I would just briefly look at my notes. And those days we didn't have YouTube or really even Google, you know, stuff like that. It wasn't, you know, 20 years ago, the internet isn't what it was now. So I didn't have a lot of resources besides other guys. And if you're an electrician now, and maybe it's not like this for you, but electricians are, you know, a rare breed for sure. We're prima donnas, right? Like I've always heard this and I've always repeated this. So this ain't me making this up, but they're called prima donnas, right? Like, and I guess what that means is who Madonna was before she was Madonna. I don't know. So I'm not that old, but anyway, electricians, you know, it's a rare breed, and a lot of times what you'll find out there is guys don't want to share information with you, especially if they don't like you, especially if they think you're not going to last. They ain't going to give you the knowledge and the wisdom that they've acquired over the years. That's something to be earned, right, in electrical world. And so that's a thing. So man, sometimes if you're really serious about this, you got to get serious about this, you know. So carrying the notepad around, making the notes, doing all that stuff, and like being proactive, right? So the next day you come in and the boss says, hey, run to the Connex and get me a roll of number 12 Romex or number 14.3 Romex, or grab me a single gang box, 2 cut-ins, and dual function breaker, right? And you're like, what? Like, what you talking about, right? So the good apprentices, the guys that are good, are the guys who understand that they don't know everything and they are there to learn. And the more that you can remember, and the more you can write down all your pieces and parts, all your materials. There's thousands of pieces and parts in electrical world, right? So to know the names of everything and to be able to communicate effectively in your field is super important. So that would be number one, right? That's kind of where we started residential, and that's kind of how it started for me. And I've always, you know, like, you got to have that attitude of, if you want to learn, you want to do better, you want to become more, right? And so there's so much opportunity out there right now becoming an electrician. It's ridiculous. The one thing that really sticks out to me now, 20 years down the road, been in business 15 years, you know, we've done millions of dollars in sales. I've crushed it. You know, I have an awesome family. I have an awesome life. I have an awesome wife. You know, like, I'm not saying it's everything's just perfect, you know, because it's not. Like, a lot of my videos talk about the challenges of the day-to-day stuff, right? So it's not easy, as nothing is. No good thing is easy, right? So let me get back to where we're at here. So we started the career, started residential, taking notes. You know, one thing that I realized right away was if I can be an extra hand to my guy that I'm helping, like the journeyman or the experienced electrician I'm working with, I almost saw myself as like an extension of him. So I was doing things, because what I found is, like, some guys aren't good leaders, right? Some guys aren't good bosses, and they don't know how to line guys out, or they don't know how to line several guys out at once. And one thing you have to learn becoming a business owner is to do that. That's a skill that you need to acquire, is to be able to line out several people at one time or at the same time, keep yourself busy, and then be able to see down the road, as soon as they're finished with their job, what they're going to do next. So that's something I'm really good at, is delegating and bossing, right? Like, I have to. It's my money on the line. So I'm constantly thinking, what's next? Keep guys moving, keep this efficient. You know, where are we going to, just always moving. The brain's always going. So you got to get good at those things. And so I saw myself as an extension to my journeyman. So there, for example, like he would be up on a ladder and he would drop his screwdriver, and I was over there, boom, picking up his screwdriver and handing it up to him, right? Like, it's like the less physical energy he needs to use in the day, the more mental energy he could use to help me, right? Because electrician is a very physically and mentally challenging job. Um, I'm gonna say it, man. We're the king of the trades, right? Like we got a lot of smart people. You become an electrician, and your brain gets wired differently. You know, you think differently. You see things differently, and on top of that, we're lifting heavy shit all day. We're carrying ladders around on you know, we're wearing the tool bags. We got the hard hats. You know, like we're soldiering, man. You know, like it's not an easy, lightweight, wimpy job. Like you got to be. You're gonna get calluses on your hands. You're gonna get strong hands. You know, like you're always cutting wires and doing stuff like that, you know, cutting wires and stripping wires and using your hands a lot. And your hands will get tired and your hands will get callous. I've literally had guys quit at my company who I brought him up. I love the kid. I thought he was great. And then he started like complaining 6 months in, like, man, my hands hurt. I can't cut the wires. And I'm like, what? Like and I'm so far into this. I was like, I couldn't even comprehend that, you know. I'm like, you couldn't cut the wires. Like, I think, long story short, the guy's gone, right? So that's not everyone, guys. Like, I'm not saying this is just it's not that challenging. Like, it is, but it isn't. But you get used to it, right? It's like lifting weights. It's like anything you do. You get stronger mentally, physically. You get better, and your days get easier, shorter, faster. You make more money, all that good stuff. So, one thing I think is one thing I wanted to talk about also, I guess. So my career started, you know, in residential, all that stuff, and it was up and down. And like I said, tried all these different things. I wasn't quite sure I wanted to become an electrician. It's like dirty and hard, and you know, my brain's fried at the end of the day, learning all these thousands of pieces and parts and this and that. So I was kind of in and out of it, right? But what happened for me, like, I basically I met my wife, right, and we had kids young. I was 24 when I had my first kid, and I remember my grandparents who kind of helped raise me. Like my grandma just telling me, like, it's, you got to buckle down and get serious and make it happen there, son, you know. And so that simple little nudge from my grandmother, who is just one of the hardest workers that I ever know, and, you know, who still works till this day, and she's, you know, like, amazing. And same with my grandfather. He's really the one who instilled this work ethic in me at a young age. You know, he was dragging me around to garage sales and flea markets, and he had a lawn service business. So from a young age, I was always busy and hanging around them, and just saw that, right? I saw what they did and how they did it, and I took it and used it for my benefit. But I'm getting a little off track here. Let me get back to what we were talking about, right? So becoming an electrician, just trying to paint a little bit of a picture of where my journey started. And for a new guy, you know, thinking about getting in the field with zero experience, maybe 18 years old, maybe 36 years old, whatever it is, we've seen it all. You know, there's just an abundance of opportunity right now because, you know, the public schools have been pushing college for years, right? And I think, like, people are waking up and starting to realize that you don't have to go to college. College isn't for everyone. College might completely ruin all your future plans if you get into a massive debt and you get nothing out of it, you know. And we're seeing this become more of a common thing these days. So for me, the trades was absolutely 1000% the way to go. So I think I read a statistic the other day that all the baby boomers, there's like 10,000 baby boomers retiring or like getting to the age of retirement every single day right now. And so, guys, you got to understand that these baby boomers, a lot of them are all business owners, right? And a lot of them are electricians. So if these old school dudes are retiring, and I've witnessed it, I worked for one, you know, they're retiring, they're dying, or it's whatever, you know, they're selling their businesses, they're closing their shops down. So we're losing a lot of electricians in the market that are currently available for work, right? So So when you think of it like that, it's like, who's going to step up, who's next? And it's just not exactly happening right now. We're not seeing a lot of people come into the trades, or not enough. The data, if it's correct, there's just not enough guys coming to the industry to support the future growth of our country, for the electrification of the country, for upgrading the electrical grid in the country, all this different stuff. The world's changing rapidly. We're going into electric vehicles and just different sources of energy and all this stuff. And who's going to do the work, right? And so, like, obviously there's this big push for AI and all this stuff, but there's just some things we're just not there yet. Like an electrician, I can see ways where electricians can absolutely get replaced through 3D printing and technology and futuristic things, right? But and these things are coming at us fast. It's the world's picking up speed, right? Like, we're exponentially growing towards these crazy what once was a crazy idea. So I could see that, but at the same time, man, there's still, that doesn't mean that we should just sit back and wait for it to happen. We gotta be proactive, right? Not reactive. So for me, you guys probably want to know like how much money, right? How much money do you make as an electrician? So let me break it down like this. So in our company, King Electric, 15 years into this thing, I will take a brand new green guy, like zero experience, no tools, barely knows how to spell electrician, right? Like straight out of high school, dude. And I'll assess the situation, but in no case am I going to pay that guy more than $19 an hour. I've and that may sound low, right? And it is, but you got to understand, we're going to probably start a guy somewhere between like 17 and $19 an hour as a brand new fresh guy who's basically just dead weight at that point, and you're hoping that he has good character, right? I like guys who have good character. I'll bring them on if they're go-getters. Especially, I love like wrestler dudes or my jiu-jitsu friends or athletes, usually have that coachable attitude, and they're not lazy, right? So we'll start them out somewhere between there. But the thing you got to understand is you can progress really fast in the electrical world. So the way it works is basically every year you work, if you're working 40 hours a week and you're working 40 hours a week, you basically can acquire 2,080 hours of experience per year. Okay. And so the first milestone as an electrician is a residential wireman's license. That requires roughly 2 years and 4,000 hours of experience. To get your residential wireman's license, it's not necessary, but that's your first milestone. Your second one, which everybody should be trying to, if you're making a career out of this, need to make sure this is your number one goal, is to get your journeyman's license. Your journeyman license takes place after 8,000 hours of experience. You do the necessary schooling that the state now requires you to do. You take the tests, so it's like 4 years and 8,000 hours of experience in a few different categories, which none of that's exactly extremely important at this point when you're first getting started. But just know that you'll have to have some commercial experience, some residential experience, some management experience, stuff like that in order to get that journeyman's license. So that's 8,000 hours. And then the final and grand slam step would be to get your master license, which is, if you're fast tracking it, that's 5 years and 10,000 hours of experience. So that's what I have. I have a master's license. I got my master license in 2012. And if you're an aspiring business owner, you must have a master license. So in the state of Colorado, you have to have a master license in order to get a contractor license, and in order to be able to pull permits and things of that nature to do the bigger jobs, or to be legal, to technically be legal as a electrician doing your own stuff. You have to have a master license, contractor license, an LLC, insurance, all that jazz that keeps you all legal and able to pull permits and keep moving forward, right? So your residential wiremen's, your journeymen's, your masters. Residential wireman, I never got that. Journeyman's, I never had that either. You don't have to get those licenses. I went from an apprentice to as I went from having an apprentice, being in an apprenticeship, and I have 10,000 hours of experience at that time. So I went straight to getting my master license, and I did that because I knew I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to start my own business. So the cost of the journeymans and the stress of it and doing all that stuff, just I didn't really care. I was kind of making journeyman wages already. I was with the same guy forever. So I had a good wage. I didn't need to get my journeymans. He wasn't looking to grow, to expand his company or anything like that. So I got my master license, and that was my plan. So there's different ways to go about it. You don't have to acquire these licenses. Sure, they give you the credential, and especially if you're searching for new employment or new jobs or whatever, but not necessary. So how much do we make, right? So let's just break it down like this, and you guys could comment and let me know what you think, especially if you're an electrician or a contractor right now. But I would say, as a brand new fresh guy, green off the street, doesn't know a damn thing and doesn't even have tools, whatever, you're going to start off probably 17 to 19 bucks an hour in a standard company, residential commercial type company, right? 17, 19 bucks an hour. I bet that's pretty common around the country. I would assume. I don't know. We're in Colorado, so I feel like we are a little bit on the high side. I'm not a union shop. So 17 to 19 bucks an hour. You're in it for a good year and you're loyal and your company likes you. I'd be giving guys a couple dollar raise, pretty easy. Get them up $2, $3 raise, within your first year. And if you're killing it, you get to your second year, you're making, 23 to 26 bucks an hour in your second year. Your third and your fourth year is where you're going to really start to excel and become dependable. And by that time, you know your materials, you know how to communicate and speak the language, electrical language. You're becoming a reliable guy. You might even end up in your own work van, which a lot of my guys did in their second, third year, because they started with me. They were familiar with stuff. They knew how I did things. So of course I'm going to give them more money, right? So second, third year, 24, 25, 26 bucks an hour, something like that. You're getting into your fourth year, and now we're talking. You're about to get your journeymans. You get your journeymans, and in my opinion, I look at it like, man, if you're a journeyman, then you've been doing this long enough to understand certain things, which is typically true. It's not always true, depending on who your past employer was. Some guys will keep you down, right? That prima donna thing and all that. But for me, like, brand new journeyman should be making at least 30 bucks an hour and upwards of 40 bucks an hour to 60 bucks an hour, depending on what type of shop you're in, depending if you're union versus non-union. And this is adding everything up: your paid time off, your holidays, your vacation time, your sick pay, your insurance, the truck that you take home, the gas card that you get, the tool accounts. When you account for all that stuff, it all adds up to quite a bit of money. So a good journeyman, we have journeymen right now in our small company. We got 10 guys, 2 office staff, myself, Mr. Project Manager over almost everything, and I got guys that are journeymen ranging from $70,000 to $80,000 a year right now, and that's probably not considering like the vehicles that they take home. They ain't paying to drive to work. They're not paying for their own gas. They drive our vehicles. They use our stuff, right? They get all the benefits of being a long-term employee and stuff like that. So those guys are, they're making $70,000, $80,000, $85,000 a year, I bet, when it's all said and done. But it is not uncommon to make $100,000 or $120,000 as an electrician. And so a lot of my guys are on their way there. Right, a lot of them are still somewhat freshly minted journeymen that can do a lot, though. So it is not uncommon for electricians to make 6 figures within the first 5 years of their career. That's not uncommon. I got a friend making 120K right now at another company. He's putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort, but he's making 120K. I know guys in the city right now pushing upwards of $200,000 a year as an electrician with no degree, no college experience, no formal education. All they have is electrical experience under their belt, and they're crushing it, and usually those types of jobs are commission type based jobs, where you're becoming a lot better at your job. You're getting good at selling, in a sense, or closing deals, or providing more value, right, is what you're doing. You're providing more value for your company. You're providing more value for the customers, and those are the guys those are the ones that we want, right? That's what we're trying to cultivate here at our company is bring the guys in from inside up and get them into these positions. So for me, you guys want to know how much money I make? I don't know if it's a great idea to share this on the internet or not, but whatever. Like I'm not. I'm 43 years old, man. I got a good 10, 15 years to continue on with this path, but we make several hundred thousands of dollars every year. I've been in the six figure since I was 32 years old. I haven't made less than six figures since I was 32. These past few years have been really, really good. We've made close to $1 million in the last few years. I would say, after taxes and stuff like that. But the one thing that I would point out that's even more important than what I'm making a year or making every day or whatever it is what the value of our company is now. So one of the reasons that I decided to grow and to take this thing a little bit more serious was I was getting approached by people who wanted to buy electrical contracting company, right? And so through that experience, I learned through private equity guys, through other bigger businesses, through hiring a broker, through hiring attorneys and CPAs that dealt with the sale of businesses and stuff like that. I learned what I actually had here, and it's literally a gold mine. Getting into this trade as time moves on, it's basic supply and demand. We're going to be more valuable. We're going to be able to charge more, but you have to run your business right. You have to structure it right in order to become this valuable company, right? So right now, as we sit, I do know that I could sell this company, King Electric, for $1 million, at least $1 million. That's what we could probably close the deal on. And man, I ain't kidding. We got close to doing it. $1 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you start to realize what is it that these people see that I'm not seeing, the potential buyers, right? And you start to go through that process and learn, you figure out what they know, and then you realize what you actually have here. And that's when you start to get to work and you start to try to create value in the company. So as a small business owner, we I want to retire someday too. I want to pass these things down to my kids or the employees or whatever it looks like in the future. I'm not even sure now. I thought I was going to sell it, but now it's like things are changing because I understand the value of the business. So my advice to the new guys is to take action. Don't be afraid. Send out your resume to every single company that you could get it to out there. In the meantime, start honing in your skills. Watch these YouTube videos. Start to understand what electricity is. What is a coupling? What is a connector? What's the difference between indoor and outdoor materials? And take it serious. Get the notepad, right? Take notes, take classes, take free courses. YouTube's free, right? There's endless information out there these days that can get you further ahead faster. So my advice is to take action. Number one, don't be afraid to, on your resume, to list, I've only worked at McDonald's. I only worked at a landscaping company, right? But within that resume, make sure you detail what you learned at that company. Like what other skills did you acquire besides planting a tree or flipping a burger or taking an order? I learned customer service skills with McDonald's, right? I know how to talk to people and I know processes and systems. I understand why they do this in the order that they do, and why they're creating these systems. If you're a manual labor and you're out there working your tail off, make sure you highlight that and say, man, I know what hard days are. I know what hot days are. I know what cold days are. But either way, I show up and I'm willing to work and I'm willing to learn. And you got a champion on your hands. When you speak like that, that's attractive. Those are the things we're looking for. And if a guy doesn't have experience, but I see that character in him and he's hungry and he's got that desire and passion and he's willing to learn and humble himself, he's coming on board with us all day long. So that would be my advice, guys, is yes, you can make an awesome career, an awesome living. You can make a ton of money with this, and you could start your own business. You could go into solar. You could go into linemen, big stuff like power lines. You can get into the electrification. You could get into just commercial electrical work. You could get into remodel work. You could get into maintenance work. You could go to Las Vegas and change light bulbs. You can go to Dubai and build skyscrapers. I've personally worked in Saudi Arabia. I've been to Kuwait. I've been to Canada. I've been to all over the United States. I've been everywhere when I worked for other companies on their dime doing industrial work. I was a rig electrician. I was an industrial rig electrician. Made tons of money out there. Hard job, great job, hard job, not for everyone. But my point is there's just endless opportunity. So yeah, guys, reach out, holler if you guys have any questions, or I'd love to know your experience, especially if you're a contractor, what it looks like for you in your area. What are you paying your guys? Is the market starting to go up, right? Like we're having to charge more as a contractor because we have to pay more. Things are more expensive. So holler at me. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. There will be more valuable content like this rolling out in the near future. So peace out. Have a good day.